discussed this on several occasions. We've brought forth and presented, you know, we think that you've got a decent deal on the table at this particular point in time. And we would encourage you to pass that.
Motion to deny.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny. Commissioner Bowles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Administrator, just for the point of record, I'd like to clarify that the cities of Los Angeles, Cleveland, Chicago, Boston, and New York have all built public buildings on air rights. It's common practice in government entities and cities. The problem, it seems to me, is we don't own the land currently, and there are liens on the land. It's two issues. First issue, we issued the air rights to save the taxpayers $1.7 million through tax-exempt financing. Would I be correct in saying that we could have that land deeded over to the Land Bank Authority and still treat it as a tax-free financing?
We run that through our tax attorneys, and they find that to be acceptable.
Okay, I will make a substitute motion that this contract be approved pending the land being donated to the Land Bank Authority without any liens, and the agreement be limited to 5 years on both decks.
Second.
We have a substitute motion and a second. Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't care how much we sugarcoat this thing, it's not going to work. Violations occurred. It's not straight. I don't care if we only give it for 30 days. In fact, when I requested a forensic audit, the land bank was one of those I had to be audited. So I don't see how we're accomplishing anything by doing that. It's not so much the alleged money that we saved. There's no proof that this money was indeed saved. And secondly, there was no proof that authorization was given for the type bonding that was done. Now, I think that as a commissioner, as the governing body for this city, we have an obligation to do what is right. And I don't see how anyone could blindly support a favorable conclusion with this thing. Now, if I could make a substitute to the substitute motion,
No, sir, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Bowles for bringing up the fact that there are several other cities that have done similar, not the same thing. I want to make sure that we're clear on that. Similar transactions. What he didn't do, though, he didn't bring out the specific of those particular transactions, which have some specific differences in what we have. But at the end of the day, it's just not something that I'm going to be able to support. And at the appropriate time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to call for a roll call vote.
Okay. Commissioner Hadley?
Mayor, one of the questions I'd like to ask is pertaining to the motion, I believe, that Mayor Pro Tem made, is that how is it, I'm confused as to how we can even consider going forward this X sits on land that has $7 million lien on it. How you going to designate something to the land bank that you don't own? How can you do that?
Good question.
Because the thing that's frightening here is that the amount of money that was paid for the land and the amount of money of the lien don't have, it's just sickening unless somewhere along the line somebody done suggested to the bank that the building was going to be part of the deal. There's no way you're going to get $7 million for a piece of land you paid $360,000 for. Something drastically wrong with this. And that, to me, needs to be straightened out before we talk about an agreement. I have no problem with y'all doing this from month to month. That's the best I can support.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Guilford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the whole concept of the reason why we're in the position we are is no different than what just transpired just now. It didn't give anybody any time to delegate or have any dialogue on this whole issue. The whole problem was it's been a lack of communication. It deemed from First of all, the property, it didn't belong to us, then we find out there's liens on it. Now, with the idea that the owner, 933, will relinquish the land to the land bank, it does become in the controls of the Augusta Richmond County, which I do like that idea. But we still have to communicate, and there hasn't been any. We ain't heard from our attorney, Mr. Plunkett. I would like to hear from him before a decision's made, and I would love to have a little dialogue. Because right now, you know, the whole city's watching us. And what we just proposed on the floor was a matter of maybe 40 words. We need more communication than what we have now. That's the reason why we're in the position we are. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Hadley?
I listened to Mr. Guilford, and I thought of something else. Even if the folk who own the land wanted to donate, they can't do that with a $7 million lien. The person who owns the lien controls the land. Somebody got to come up with $7 million for that land to go anywhere.
Okay, Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Can we get Mr. Plunkett to speak on this?
Sure. Mr. Plunkett.
Yes, sir. As I spoke last week, there is a mechanism in place for the release of the liens, has been from day one. I believe that Wells would agree to the same release, and at the end of the day, we would have that done prior to the transfer to the land bank, and the land bank would own the rights.
So this management, this whole thing is on management fee, so on the management service contract. This contract will not come into place without having that into effect, is that correct?
That's correct. That's one of the prerequisites, is that there needs to be a management agreement in effect for the release.
Is there anything, any way for the future projects that we have within Augusta Richmond County have the rights to audits, where there's no hesitation from people getting information?
If you're talking about financial operations, that's in the document in there. I think it's much more stronger than we've ever had in audit type of provisions in there. I'm certainly happy to try to draft whatever I can into a document. You know, we've had it looked at by finance. You know, I think it's a fairly reasonable document. We've had other counsel look at it, tax counsel, and you know, so it's kind of, I think it's in there as far as the audit issues. Certainly any other agreements that come before this commission, we're happy to put in any provisions you want there as a matter of policy.
Yes, sir. From the way I feel, naturally everybody's been looking at me because I'm a swing vote. I truly believe that there's nobody in here that's being dishonest. It's just the process and the perception, because the lack of communication, they gave the perception that there is entitlement to wrongdoing happening. But I appreciate it if we could have the rights to the audits built in. We won't proceed until we have the signed documents that everything has been swapped over.
Yes, sir, that would be there, and I regret any misperception involved in this transaction. It was, you know, it's not a straightforward transaction, but it is a certainly legal and I think appropriate transaction. So I apologize for anything in that regard, but certainly we can step by step on all of the release information. I can bring it to this body in any way they would like, step by step, you know, document by document.
Commissioner Lockett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, about 10 minutes ago thereabout, my colleague made a motion to transfer this property to the land bank. You know, it seems that we always in a rush to do things. That's the first that I heard about it. But yet and still, you expected me to cast a vote. Maybe you assume my vote would be no. This is why I wasn't consulted. But this is what got us into the problem, one of the problems we have now, because we know how to count to 6, but we haven't figured out how to count to 10. Until we figure that out, we're going to have problems. It wouldn't take very much to call me or send me an email or something and say, hey, this is a proposal. What do you think about it? At least I would have an opportunity to say no if I wanted to, but then you're going to throw it out here and expect me to vote on it? I don't know about my other colleagues. Are they aware of what the intent of this transfer to the land bank is? Are they in the same condition that I'm in? I have the slightest idea. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I wanted to recognize Commissioner Hackney for a point of personal privilege. Then I'm going to go to Commissioner Bowles and Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, sir. Let me ask you a question, sir. You mentioned that are you recommending that you go on and approve this without any evidence that the Wells Fargo Bank is going to agree to the land transfer with that $7 million loan hanging out there? Are you telling me you want us to agree to this before we know this to be a fact? That's what you're saying? That's what you're asking?
Well, actually, it was a motion made by Mr. Bowles.
I don't care who made the motion. I'm asking you, the attorney. You're supposed to be looking out for the city's best interest. Are you saying to me that you think it's right, it's good business for us to go ahead and approve this stuff here, not having a clue what Wells Fargo gonna do? Because banks ain't stupid. They ain't hardly finna give away $7 million.
Sir,
they aren't going about to do that. We need to wait until this whole thing is clear, give the administrator what he's been having, a month-by-month agreement, until all this other stuff is cleared up.
sir, prior to the transfer to the land bank, there'll be a release in hand.
Release in hand, but no, I'm talking about before I vote for this, I need to see that kind of stuff. That's all I'm asking, and that's only fair. I think you ought to want us to see that. I really don't think you're treating us fair to stand here and ask us to vote on stuff like y'all have done already to build a $12 million on land we didn't own, then it got $7 million lease on it, and now you talking about you think Wells Fargo will go along with it, you don't know.
Personal remarks to the attorney.
Mr. Mayor, you can't tell me how to talk. I've always respected you. I will ever respect you. But at the end of the day, I've got just as much right to voice my opinion if you have, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're about to be elected by more folks than me, but I'm an elected official too, and I am just as concerned about the money of the city as you say you are.
Thank you for your opinion. Commissioner Bowles.
Mr. Mayor, my motion clearly stated that the contract will be entered into once the land was donated to the Land Bank Authority with clear title, with no lien. Hence, you're not authorized to sign it unless those requirements are met.
Exactly.
I would also like to say that since I've been accused of being careless and reckless by some of my colleagues, my phone rings both ways and it hasn't been ringing. You know, communication is a two-way street. I'm sick of being criticized for something that I found out this morning we could do.
Okay.
And, well, I've got 1 minute, Mr. Mayor. And financial transactions I deal with pretty much every day. This is a complex one. Things happen simultaneously with a transaction when liens are being released from banks. It happens every day in the financial world.
Thank you, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Using the term complex, which we seem to throw out at a moment's notice, does not in any way, shape, or form solidify or validate what we're talking about here. So we ought not get that twisted. At the end of the day, I respect Mr. Bowles absolutely with his financial background and his attention to detail. However, at the same time, we all have the same responsibility as Mr. Bowles, and that's to ensure that we're clear on the details of this transaction. There's not a single one of us sitting up here can say with any confidence, in my opinion, that there's been no issues with this at all, so we should just go ahead and rubber stamp this today. What I'm saying is this: I don't know when you got the conversation you say this morning. I don't know who you got it from. I know I didn't get it. I just got it when you just brought it out. I would have liked to have some discussion about that. I deal with complex financial situations on a daily basis in contracting office at Fort Board. So I would like to have had some of that dialogue and some of that talk as well. But the only thing we're saying here, as far as trying to rush into it when you just made a motion that nobody else had ever heard of, at least I hadn't, to me is not the thing to do at this particular point. And so that's really all I have to say in relation to that. I do appreciate Mr. Bowles. I know he's meticulous in attention to detail.
Okay, we have a substitute motion that's been properly seconded. Madam Clerk, if you could read back the substitute motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Aiken.
Mr. Mayor.
think with the management agreement that's in place, there's things that Mayor Pro Tem pointed out. And I campaigned on T-Center and the deck. Took a lot of heat for it. People thought I was crazy, and I stood up for it. I still believe in this project, and I still believe in the city, and I still believe in the downtown, and I'm going to fight for that. We have competent people in place, and if they're not competent, we find out about it. We got means in place to move in a direction that we can correct those. We're here to do the business of the people. We're here to move the city forward, and so I'm going to support this motion. I'm going to support the city growing, and this district has a lot of impact for this whole city. And I hope that we get on board, and I think if we look at the parking, the real thing we really need to be looking at is a real parking plan for downtown. And how do we build it economically and what we're going to do? Because I think somewhere we're sitting, we're getting the cart before the horse on the plans that we need to do to build the city. It's not about the personalities. We need to take that out of it. We need to give the respect where respect's due. And some of this gets personal. We really need to be looking at a contract and the facts. Thankful for the opportunity to serve in this city. I do want to see the dialogue go forth. There has been phone calls made out this weekend. I didn't get them back. And I want to continue to try to reach out and be a bridge builder. But that is a two-way street. So my colleagues, I look forward to where we're going to go in 2012, and I want to be a part of the team that's going to take this city to the next level. That's why I ran for office, and that's why I wanted your support, as well as I want to give you my support in building bridges that we need to do for all these people in the city looking for. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Aiken. Madam Clerk, if you could read back the substitute motion, please.
Substitute motion was to approve the Reynolds Street parking deck agreement pending land being donated to the Land Bank Authority, clear title, no liens, and that the contract be for a period of 5 years for both decks.
Commissioners will now vote by the substitute.
Mr. Mayor, calling for a roll call.
Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Aiken.
Yes.
Mr. Bowles.
Yes.
Mr. Brigham.
Yes.
Mr. Guilfoyle.
Yes or no? Yes.
Mr. Hackney.
Abstain.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
No.
Mr. Lockett.
No.
Mr. Mason.
No.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-3-1.
Okay, Madam Clerk, next agenda item, please.
Next item, item number 6, is a resolution in support of Augusta, Georgia elections, remaining nonpartisan elections.
Mr. Brigham, you requested this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I asked the attorney to write the resolution. I believe it's part of the book. Make a motion that we approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion that's been properly seconded. Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We constantly talk about Columbia County, how well they're doing. We want to emulate what they're doing. If I'm mistaken, Columbia County has partisan election. My question is, my thought process is why do we want to be different? Columbia County realized that they have a predominant Republican population, so it benefits it to them. So since we have a dominant Democratic population in Richmond County, why can't it be beneficial to us? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bowles.
Mr. Mayor, my suspicion on this one is that this is a move by our delegation to prevent certain city commissioners from being able to run for office because of their employment. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. We've got a motion that's been properly seconded. If there's no further discussion, commissioners will now vote by the usual sign of voting.